but I worked with a lot of professional men that were driving Mercedes and had nice cars, and like I would go sit in their office and talk to them and stuff like that. And I feel like they didn't really know that they were like a mentor to me or that they were influencing me, but I was 18 years old, 19 years old.
Wow.
And I wanted to have that one day.
Of course.
So I said, eventually I'll be my own business owner, and I'll be in a position like this. So I enjoyed putting on a tie and going to work every day, wearing a suit. And I think that shaped my mindset and my mentality into a business mindset to where I could be professional with people.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Robert Patton Global Podcast. I'm here with Eric Garcia, president of Fury Fighting Organization. Thank you for coming on, sir.
Yes, sir.
You've been busy.
I am very.
But constant hustle, I imagine.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for like 20 years. I mean, like in fighting business, or
promoting 13.
Okay.
Actually, like involved in the fighting and training, like 16, 17.
Okay. All right. Well, close enough, I suppose. Did you have anything to do with Fury? Not Fury. You obviously are with Fury, but like King of the Cage or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Because that was like one of the earliest fighting kind of, I guess, like smaller organizations. But you're out of Texas, and I'm going to be going to the Fury event this Sunday coming up.
A good one.
I'm excited. I'm going to meet up with Jacob Parga from Iridium Sports and my team. We're going to come and enjoy the fight. So I appreciate you setting us up on there. But how did you first become involved in MMA then?
Like actually training and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So I became a fan like early on of the UFC, probably like everybody else did. I walked into a Blockbuster video once and saw the VHS videos. So I was exposed to it at an early age, probably 13, 14 years old. I think I was in like 8th grade, but it was super appealing to me. And they would only come out like every so often. It's like a back then, because there was no strong internet or live streams and stuff like that. Like the event would happen and then you wouldn't see it or hear about it on VHS until like 6 months later. So every few months, we'd be looking for the next one. But that's when I first got exposed to it. And then years later, when The Ultimate Fighter came out and Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar had that amazing fight, I watched that whole season,
Yeah, me too, actually.
Yeah, and that was great. Like that was the foundation of the new era of the UFC. But I started looking for gyms and stuff, and there was a gym in my area, and a black belt that I had heard of, Travis took, and I walked into his gym in 2007, and I fell in love with it. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu first, and I got my black belt 2 years ago under Travis. So
nice.
Yeah, I had been training with him for I think 13 years or something, from 2007. So.
Wow, I'm a white belt. I just joined this gym here locally, and I've been training no-gi since 2000, I would say, even just like in my living room with my friend. He kind of introduced me to the guard and mounting, and then the arm bar and triangle, or arm triangle and stuff. And then I joined a gym with this guy, Mike, the Joker Guyman, and he was showing me some, just MMA stuff. And because it's all different from like boxing specifically or wrestling or whatever, it was like strictly cage fighting style. And on and off gyms after, I'd just go for a couple months, life would get in the way, I'd move or something, and then and I've always loved when I would go back to a gym. Like you said, you fell in love with it. I love it. And I'm like, what have I been doing? I haven't. And so I finally went back, and I'm going to a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu gym and with the gi, and the dude's from Brazil. He barely speaks English, and it's so cool and so much fun. And I'm so glad I'm getting back into it, because it's kind of like therapy, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like when I go train, whether it be jujitsu or hit pads or whatever, that hour or two is really the only time I don't worry about my phone. I don't have to answer emails. I don't have to check messages and stuff. And like, my mind can actually, for 2 hours, get away from my normal life. And I'm like in this new thing, and just to break the sweat and like just it releases a lot of endorphins, you know?
Yeah, and it's like kind of humbling, I feel like, because I mean, especially as a white belt, I go in there and these guys that nobody knows who I am, which is kind of cool. I'm like telling them we work with all these fighters, and even Brandon Moreno. Some of them, they're like, they don't even know who he is. So I'm just like, okay, we're on a very equal playing field here, and let's have some fun. And my favorite part is the sparring.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody's favorite. Everybody dreads the warm up and the technique, but when it's like that last 45 minutes to an hour and it's time to spar. So then everybody's like, I wish I could just show up for this.
Exactly. Yeah. And I went to my class last night, and we did all the technique, and we're like grabbing the sleeve and the cross shoulder, whatever. And doing that for like 45 minutes, and this is only an hour-long class. And then comes time to spar, and he didn't like pair me up with anyone, and he's like, you guys are going to do situational sparring, because I'm still like the white belt. And I was like, fuck,
start from guard or start from take or whatever.
And I mean, it's not the worst thing ever, but I was working with these two guys who were like even more like just like first class ever, and so they were like fish out of water, and they were so clumsy, and it wasn't even fun. And I felt like it's like kind of like this, where you're like about to have sex, and then you don't get to have sex, and then you're like, those
are the guys you're supposed to take advantage of, man, and practice your techniques on.
Yeah, but one of the guys I'm 5'8", and this dude was like 6'4", and just I couldn't really work with him. And the other dude was so out of shape that he was gassed just doing the reps and the technique stuff. And I was just like, anyways, every other class has been awesome, and I was just a little bit let down last night. But
it's amazing, like when you like somebody that actually works out every day and lifts weights and does cardio and stuff like that, but you walk into a jiu-jitsu class and you take that class and you're like, holy shit, I thought I was in shape, but I'm really not in shape. I remember when I walked into Team Took in 2007, like I was really heavily into weightlifting and running and doing stuff like that. So I was like 195 pounds muscular, and I thought that I was in shape. And then I get paired up with like a 150-pound guy, and all of a sudden I'm gassed. And I'm like, man, I'm out of shape. But within like 3 months, I lost like 25 pounds. And I was like, oh, this is the weight class I'm supposed to be in.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. And you did fight at some point, or did you just train?
I did. Yeah, no, I had 5 amateur fights, and then I had 1 professional fight.
Okay. And so...
And I happened to stay undefeated for all those fights.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to... Okay, I like that, because you went out on top. And
I did.
And then, so how did you transition into like promoting and then ultimately running this organization?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool story. So I started training in 2007, and I wanted to get my blue belt before I took my first amateur fight. So I was doing a bunch of privates, and I was doing jiu-jitsu privates first, and then I started doing like kickboxing privates and wrestling and putting it all together. So I trained for like a good 2.5 years. I got my blue belt, and then I made my amateur debut for a promotion that was known as Lone Star Beatdown.
That's right.
The owner of that promotion was Mick Maynard, who is now the UFC matchmaker. Anyway, so he was probably one of the only organizations around in Houston, and Texas at that around that time. So all the guys that I was training with, they wanted, after I fought, they wanted to fight as well. And they would try and get on a card, and it was just, the cards were filling up so fast. So there was a super high demand to fight. And with Mick being the only guy around, I figured, man, why not try and open my own promotion and get my thing going, and I can put my own teammates on. These guys are having issues getting on cards, and the cards are filling up so fast. I can be a secondary to what he's doing. And the rest is history, man. I threw my first show in 2010. It was an amateur show. It was called Cage Combat. It was on a Thursday night in Humble, Texas. And I lost a lot of money, but I put on some good fights.
So by losing money, because you have to pay the fighters, and then like I guess maybe not as many people showed up as you would have hoped or something.
Right. Yeah. I didn't really have a clue. Like, I spent a lot of money, I think, on stuff that I didn't need, and I kind of tweaked it. And then I was like, I'm not going out like this. Did another one, made a little bit of money. Did another one, made a little bit of money.
That's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
Fail forward.
It was trial and error.
Yeah.
And Mick helped a lot. Like, him doing it, I would kind of follow his blueprint and look at what he was doing. And I was actually still fighting for him while I was running my own promotion.
Wow.
So yeah, and he was very open-minded. And, you know, anytime I would like, man, I wonder if this would work, I would call him and ask him stuff. And he was always, yeah, this is how you do it or don't do it. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't, you know, so it was pretty cool. But here we are 13 years later, and UFC Fight Pass, and one of the fastest growing promotions in the nation, man. It's like, it's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to say, like, what are some of the biggest successes you've found over the course of this, you know, running this company? But I imagine kind of getting on Fight Pass and.
Yeah. So like a lot of, like, I feel like a real pivotal turning point in Fury FC was March 13th, 2020. And that is when we had a super stacked card put together. Adrian Yanez was on this card, supposed to fight Ricky Tercius, Leomano Martinez.
I love Ricky Tercius.
Yeah,
okay.
So they were on the card as a co-main event. And then I had Leomano Martinez and Peter Caballero fighting for a bantamweight title. And we ran the weigh-ins on the 12th. The show was supposed to be on the 13th. And it was going to be probably the card that sent us to the next level. This is pre UFC Fight Pass. And this is when the COVID era hit. So the day I'm going to the venue and we're about to open the doors to the public, and the inspector who's going to run that show, the Texas licensing inspector, says, "Hey, Governor Abbott just shut the whole city down. This event's not happening."
Oh, no.
And yeah, so here we are, and we're like, shit, the fighters are there, everybody's there. I make a post, and I said, hey, if you bought tickets, come get your money back. We're going to be here for 4 hours refunding money. And we didn't see MMA anywhere, I think, that was in March. I did another show in December, and we were the first regional promotion to actually open back up with MMA, and it was with no crowd. The refs and staff had to wear masks. Everybody had to get COVID tested, quarantined.
Right.
But I think by us being the first organization to come back after COVID, that showed a lot. You know, it showed a lot. So it was big for us, you know, because we kind of kicked it back up for Texas for sure, and laid down the foundation on how we were going to make this thing work.
And I feel like people, having been cooped up in their homes for so long, like they were hungry for some live action sports, right? And
yeah,
so
for sure.
I could see that being a very like positive effect on the people, because, you know, everybody was stuck at home, and then to be able to have a live event come back and fighting is one of the most exciting things you can go watch, period. I don't even know what's better. And I love when we go to your events and you guys always take care of us, and we get like front row VIP table, and you can hear the kicks and the smacks, and it's one of my favorite things. And I think you guys just signed Elijah Smith relatively recently. I could be wrong.
We did.
And because we sponsor him, and he's here local in my city, Colorado Springs, and I was going to his dad's gym, Gilbert Smith, you know,
Right.
Victory MMA, and that was again like another UFC fighter. I was training under him for a while, and then COVID hit, and I actually moved to a city about 30 minutes away into the remoteness of the mountains of Colorado, and so I hadn't been, like, since COVID, I hadn't been back to a gym until about 2.5 weeks ago, and that was so cool because it was more like MMA and hitting the pads. Love hitting the pads. That's that's so fun. Whereas at the jiu-jitsu gym I'm going to now, there are no pads, but it's got its own positive, that feel, you know, those endorphins you were talking about. It's just, and they had a Brazilian dude, didn't speak any English. On my second class, it was like a special event where, you know, I'm sure at the gym you go to, they'll have like special trainers come in every now and then and do like seminars or something.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
And so this dude, and I walk in thinking it was my normal white belt class, but it was like training for a tournament style fighting class. And so we were
y'all were after it.
Yeah, it was like 1 minute, sparring, like rotating partners. And, you know, after 5 or 10 minutes, it was just like, this is what I wanted. This is it. So fun. People I don't know, man. And I don't know if, you know, we're not all built the same and
For
get
sure.
pleasure out of the same things, but man, it's like you could play basketball or any other, tennis or whatever, and there's no just like feeling like rolling. It's so weird. I don't know why.
It is. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but it is. I always say, like, a lot of people sometimes they give me a hard time, like, about not liking. It's not that I don't like it, but I don't watch football, and a lot of my friends watch football and stuff, or basketball or whatever. And I'm like, man, I mean, I'm a fight promoter. Like, it's not that I don't like football, but who doesn't like fights? Like, you can go to a grocery store and walk out of the grocery store, and two people start fighting in the parking lot, and everybody's attention is going to stop what they're doing, and they're going to look.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, that's just fighting. It's just something different. That's how you solve it. That's not how you technically solve problems, but nobody's ever said, I don't like you, let's go play a game of football and see who wins. Yeah, and
I like, as a kid, you know, you don't, let's settle this maybe on the basketball court, but probably not. We're settling it on the playground, whatever, we're going to fight. And then you're probably, in a lot of instances, I always became friends with them. You gain respect for each other, and it's, you know, like,
unless they're a sore loser. Unless they're a sore loser.
So, like, what makes Fury stand out from the other kind of fight organizations, do you think?
You know, I think it's the fighters that we have on our roster. Like me and Rich, who he's like my VP. He helps with all the matchmaking and stuff. We diligently seek talent across the U.S. Like, if you look at I was on Tapology a couple weeks ago, and I was looking at the just like the lower region, like Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana. I was looking at the top 25 flyweights and featherweights and bantamweights, and I think in each of those divisions, out of the top 25, like 22 or 23 in each division were signed with Fury. Wow. So that speaks a lot. Like, speaks high, you know. So, you know, when you come to a Fury FC event, the guys that are stepping in that cage are possibly 1 to 2 fights away from getting called up to either Dana White Contender Series or a short call into the UFC. You know, somebody in the UFC gets hurt, and they might be looking for one of our guys. The other thing I think is the relationships we have. Like, I feel like I have a really solid relationship with the UFC Fight Pass team. The guys are great to work with. I think I've earned trust with them. And, you know, we signed with UFC Fight Pass in March of 2021. and March of 2023, which is here in a couple months, we'll have delivered, I think, 29 events to them in just 2 years. You know, so that alone, that also speaks pretty high volume for us. So if you show up to a Fury FC show, you're not gonna, the level of production that we bring and the fights that we put together, you know, it's hard to compare.
Yeah, and I think I was at one where Dana White was there, and he like
Dana's been
signed.
twice.
Yeah, and I was at one and that was really cool. Everybody was like going, and he's like taking pictures with everyone. And do you like, you're the president of Fury, he's the president of the UFC. You guys are like, you know, in the same kind of field.
We're in the same industry, but we're like.
Does it bug you when, I mean, because you have to know that your fighters are trying to get to the UFC, and when they make it, does that make you proud, or very
proud? I feel like, number one, it was a huge accomplishment even being signed to UFC Fight Pass. Like I said, we got signed in March. Dana was we got signed in March of 21. He came to our show in May of 21. So 8 weeks later, Dana's already here.
Yeah.
And then he came, that was in Houston. And then he came a second time and went to a show that we did in Denver.
Yeah.
In the same year. So I was like, man, this is twice.
Yeah. I mean, and those are like my two my team is all in San Antonio, which is where we're going to be for the one on Sunday. And then I go, anytime you guys are in Colorado, I get a group of friends and we will go, and it's always everyone. Like my friend was just asking me, because I just had a UFC party like at my house, and it's like, when are we going back to another Fury? And I was like, when they come back, you know, to Colorado, we'll for sure be going back.
I actually have a meeting with the Paramount Theater, so I'm trying to book for April 16th to try and get out there.
Hell yeah.
We'd like to do that. And speaking of San Antonio, so we're doing the show this weekend at Cowboys Dance Hall, which I think y'all been to, but we did get a new venue in San Antonio called the Techport Center.
Okay.
And we're going to be there March 24th. So I'm assuming you're going to come down, because the UFC is in San Antonio on Saturday, March 25th.
Yeah. My wife was telling me that, and she was like thinking, you know, she's like, get your team and go. I was like, we'll see.
Yeah, because big fight weekend.
Yeah,
sure.
That's so. Like, what are you? So I was going to say, what are you doing to like continue the growth of your organization? But
obviously we got to keep signing talent. You know, a lot of. So I run an all amateur organization as well, and then a lot of times when we run these Fury cards, you'll see on the undercard amateur fights. So we're looking to gradually bump those amateurs up and let them make their pro debuts and fight on undercards. And then as we're sending guys to Dana White Contender Series and off to the UFC, I think that alone is creating a higher demand for more fighters in the nation to want to come. I mean, we get guys from outside of the country that are.
I was just thinking that do they request, like, did they reach out to you sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's an email on our webpage, and a lot of times they go through email. If not, they'll just go through the Fury Instagram and they'll find me and they'll message me, or they'll message Rich direct and say, hey, we really want an opportunity. And as long as they have their visas and stuff in order, like, we'll bring guys in. Like, I don't mind. I mean, and a lot of times, like, you'll find some of the best talent outside of the U.S. as well. Like, we had a guy that fought for us named Themba Garimbo, and he fought for us in New Orleans. And he fought that one time, he got seen, and he's already signed to the UFC. He should be making his UFC debut here pretty soon. I think he's from, like, South Africa or something.
Yeah, I love when I see our fighters from like the smaller organizations make it up to the UFC and then do well, you know. And it's like, because sometimes they'll make it and then they'll do, like, we have this guy Kyle Nelson who is he's fighting Doo-Ho Choi in the co-main event on February 4th, so like in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And he's in his 6th fight. This is so weird. I think he's won like 2 fights in the UFC, and he was murdering all the way up, and he's from Canada, and he was undefeated, and but he like, you see that next level of competition, I guess.
Yeah.
And some people, and he'll be winning the first, like he always starts off winning the first round, and he knows because he's been there, and then like he either gasses because his weight cuts are too hard or something is going on. He's really good, but I really hope he beats Doo-Ho Choi.
It's always good when your guy wins. The guy you know wins. It's such a great feeling.
I know.
Like for sure. Like we had some guys on Dana White Contender Series this past year, and we would come out and watch them, and we were just like, yeah, please, please, please. So I know three of our guys got signed off of Contender Series this past year. 4 guys got signed. So we're hoping for a lot more this coming year.
And but you're building them from your organization, and then they leave. But so does that kind of hurt you know a little bit your ticket sales or something?
Yeah, for sure. But obviously, like the ultimate goal is, as a business, we want to make money for sure. But being a partner with the UFC and UFC Fight Pass, and then like Fight Pass owning the rights to our events, our job is really to build talent for the UFC.
Yeah,
because when it's time for Dana and them and Mick and Sean to look for talent, I think they're going to go to the Fight Pass organizations first. So if I'm producing the right guys, obviously I have to know that you're showing these guys so they can take them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because we work with like LFA, we work with 559 and Colorado Combat as far as like sponsoring certain athletes, and we're, you know, we could sponsor NFL and NBA players, but we sponsor fighters just because that's what I'm into. That's like
the greatest sport in the world. Fighting is the greatest sport in the world.
Yeah, there's nothing, and every fight is different. That's what's so funny is you can watch 1,000 fights, and they're like kind of all exciting, you know.
Yeah,
and
their own way.
Weird. Well, and that's actually what I was going to say earlier. So I'm glad it came back to me. But because it's like it is weird. It's like, you know, it's the same thing every time, but no, it's not. It's like a different style versus, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think of what's up with these Russians? I don't know.
Man, I mean, they're coming in like Khabib got some mob of guys that he brought up, I guess, and they're coming in, and those dudes are relentless. You know,
yeah.
I mean, their style and that take you down and beat you up for 3 rounds or finish you in the first is just, it's insane, man. And I feel like they have just a different type of blood and strength, you know, like they wrestle bears and shit.
There's a lot of speculation from people that I talk to that they take something special in their blood. But what do you think is going to happen between Volkanovski and Makhachev?
Well, Volkanovski's going up in weight, number one. So I don't know if that's smart.
I know, against Makhachev.
I feel like where he is where he should stay and where he should reign. I think Makhachev's just going to be too strong for him. He's going to be too big.
But then, you know, Volkanovski used to be 210 pounds, and you know.
Yeah, I guess I could go research and see what he looked like at 210 pounds and see if he had muscle or if he was just fat. I mean, I could say I used to be 300, and that wouldn't.
Yeah, he has those long arms. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. My daughter and she was like messaging me. She's like, ONE FC is going to be in town in May.
I heard in May. Yeah, I heard that.
And then she wants to go. Her boyfriend wants to go see Demetrius Johnson, and he's fighting the dude that I think beat him already.
Okay,
I think. But I'm like, she's actually graduating college the next morning, and we would have to drive like 5 hours. It's just not. We're gonna do like a watch party, but I've never watched ONE FC ever.
I can be honest and say I really don't watch any other organization. Like I might watch a couple regional promotions on Fight Pass, but I don't really watch Bellator or ONE FC or PFL unless there's somebody like we've sent a couple guys that got cut from the UFC, came back to us, and they didn't make it back to the UFC, so they ended up in PFL. I've watched a couple of those fights, but other than that, I don't keep up with like one or anything else. I know, like Sage Northcutt fought for me for a little while, coming up in the regional scene before he went to the UFC, and then I saw his first fight in ONE FC. But he's supposed to be on that card in May, I think.
I think I saw his face.
Yeah, I saw a poster.
Yeah, and I watched like the World Series of the PFL or whatever it's called.
That $1 million tournament.
Yeah. I was at the gym and it was on the the TV at the gym, and I was on the treadmill, and I was like, okay, everyone is about to win $1 million. So I went ahead and watched. It was like fight after fight is the championship fights, and I recognized a couple of people from the UFC, and then there's some girl that's like Kayla
Harrison,
but then she lost, I think.
Yeah, and she wasn't supposed to, and she did.
Yeah. That was, so that's always, that keeps it exciting. I was also thinking, we're just fight talk a little bit, if in order for Brandon to like solidify himself as like one of the greatest ever, he's got to beat like Henry Cejudo or Demetrius.
I saw Cejudo's coming back, I think.
Yeah.
I saw something about him today that he's supposed to be fighting. Who is he fighting?
Probably in 135, I imagine.
I think it was 135. Yeah, he's supposed to be fighting somebody. I don't know who it is, but he's supposed to be fighting somebody. I forgot.
I think he's a great coach. Yeah, as far as what I've heard and in his routine for winning, or for like visualizing and like walking into the cage and having your hands like rehearsing the wins and stuff. I believe in a little bit of the woo shit where, I make vision boards and write down goals and visualize what I want to achieve and stuff. And it's worked for me. So it's kind of, and then I see it working for him, and then see it working for people he's working with. Do you subscribe to any of that type of mindset?
Yeah, obviously I think it's good to write down your goals and check them off and stuff like that. I do it too, but a lot of my stuff is like spur of the moment. Like I come up with these thoughts and ideas, and it's just like boom, and right away, like I could think of an idea right now, or a fight, or a card, or a different venue or city that I want to do, and like I'll put it on my notes, and then tomorrow I have everything on my calendar. You got to call this place at this time. You got to look for this at this time. So, and I feel like I work in my sleep. Like lately, I've been trying to go to sleep at like 9 p.m., which is early.
No, I'm with you, dude. 9:10 is where I'm at, because you got to get up early.
I'm trying to be asleep by 9, turn the TV off, get up at 6, get my workout in, be done by 7:30, get my first few calls and emails and stuff. My first calls and stuff done by 8:30, and get my day started. I feel more productive, so
totally. Because all the time after 9 p.m. is going to be spent like kind of drinking and fucking around or whatever.
There you go. Watching TV.
Yeah, you're wasting time.
TV. Yep.
And there's only, we're in the prime, and we're trying to make shit happen. And what I was thinking, as you were saying, you're writing, you have these thoughts, and I watched The Secret, the movie, back in like 2006 or whatever. And one of the lines that stuck out to me is like, the universe loves speed. When you have the inspiration, it wants you to like take action and just do it. Like, don't wait and fucking like, because a lot of people I meet, they all have these ideas about what they're going to do, and they talk still to this day for years. It's like, yeah, you got to do the shit.
Yeah, stop talking about it and do it. Make it happen.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating for me, because I almost feel bad for them, and it's just like, dude, come on, man. Like,
yeah, but I was saying that, like, I try and go to sleep early, but I feel like I still work while I'm sleeping. Like, my mind never turns off ever. It never ever turns off, because a lot of people don't understand like everything that doing this type of business or being a promoter entails. Like, especially for me on the regional level and on a lower level, like I'm sure Dana has people that take care of everything for him. Like he don't have to do anything. But a lot of people don't know, like for years, for like at least up until maybe 3 years ago, I was part of driving the equipment to the venues, setting the cage up, putting the tables and chairs out, wiring, lighting, like part of the whole production setup.
For sure.
Everything. And even up until now, like I have a whole crew that does that now for like the past couple years. But fighter medicals, hotel bookings, anything that requires money, like I have to deal with it. Like we're not at a point where I can just say, hey, here's a bank account and give it to somebody and say, take care of everything without me worrying about it. Like as long as it's my money that's getting spent, I'm never going to leave. Like I'm always going to be involved.
That's where I'm at. I still pay all the bills. I still have like all the relationships with like our promoters and YouTubers and podcasters. And I'm trying to kind of delegate a little bit of those relationships for new people that want to get sponsored or whatever. I'm like, talk to this dude. But when it comes to handing over the keys to the bank account, it's like, no, I don't trust anybody.
Yeah, it's hard. And at the end of the day, like nobody is going to take care of your investment more than you are, especially when you're the only one that's putting the money in. Other people might be putting in their time, but you're paying them for that. Right. You're the last person as the owner, you're the last person to eat. Like everybody eats first. Yeah. And if there's anything left on the plate, then I can have a bite.
That's hilarious. You know what the deal is. That's why you're successful.
Well, a lot of people don't, they don't believe in that. They don't think that. And they think, oh, well, Eric's out here getting rich. Like, look at the venue. The venue is so packed. He must have made a killing tonight. Well, man, do you know what it costs to rent this place? Do you know how much the insurance costs? You know how much the production team costs? Like, there's not a lot sometimes.
Yeah, people are like, dude, you got to pay yourself first, because I'm not driving a fancy car. I live in I live in a nice house, and I have got a Tesla, whatever. It's like I got a big truck, but it's not. I bought a used truck. My point is, I put all the money back into the organization, to keep that growth. And it's ever since like day one, it's all about like getting hold of that, your position in the market and growing. And we've doubled every year at revenue since 2013, which is something, but I could say a lot of it is due to a lot of the relationships we have with the people that promote our product, because I pay them and then they get us more sales, and then I keep paying them as opposed, to myself. And I do okay, but I could be like, I could pay myself more, but I feel like the company would suffer, Right.
Yeah. You're constantly reinvesting in your product and it makes it grow more. Obviously. Yeah. It shows.
And we're trying. It's but it's every day, because especially with the economy over the past couple of years, or since the government stopped sending out the free checks.
Yeah.
We had it was crazy that year. We just like everybody was buying underwear, and luckily, we have our returning and residual customers or whatever, but this last year was a little funky, and this year we're trying to just like, a lot more competition is coming in, to the underwear that we sell with the pouch and all that, and then people, prices for everything are going up.
Yeah, I think that's hurting everybody, man. It's just people get greedy, and they gotta, you gotta understand, like, this is when you have a relationship like it has to benefit everybody. Like everybody has to benefit from it. You do for me, I do for you. And I think that's another thing, like with me and my team, man, we try and do as much as we can for anybody that's involved with us, because obviously we want them to speak well. And I feel like the reputation that we have and people speaking about us and the way they speak about us means more to me than money sometimes, so we'll go above and beyond just to make sure that people are spreading that Fury name and saying, man, these guys are great to work with.
Above and beyond. That's like a principle of success. Just do
Yeah, you don't
everything you
ever do the
can.
minimum. Never try and do
Yeah.
the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah.
Did you like, how did you, because you're talking the principles that I've read in these books about success and whatever. Is it just come natural to you, or did you study something?
Man, it's I when I was in college, I was in banking.
Okay.
And I was on the lower level of banking. I was a teller, but I worked with a lot of professional men that were driving Mercedes and had nice cars, and like I would go sit in their office and talk to them and stuff like that. And I feel like they didn't really know that they were like a mentor to me or that they were influencing me. But I was 18 years old, 19 years old,
Wow.
and I wanted to have that one day.
Of
So
course.
I said, eventually I'll be my own business owner, and I'll be in a position like this. So I enjoyed putting on a tie and going to work every day, wearing a suit.
I like it
And I
too.
think that shaped my mindset and my mentality into a business mindset to where I could be professional with people, and it just started coming natural, I guess.
Yeah. Because some people see somebody with the fancy car and like the big house, and then they like they hate on him or whatever, and it's like, no, I want that shit.
Yeah.
What did you do? I don't want to be average or normal. I mean, and sorry, I want to be on the yacht, you know.
It doesn't come overnight. Like, and
No.
that, I think nowadays that's people have that idea that I can be where he is and I can do it and become an overnight success. Nobody saw like the 13 years and all the losses and
Yeah.
the headaches on fight night and 2 hours before the doors open and the main event falling out the week before. And like nobody saw that. All they see is fight night and UFC Fight Pass and a bunch of people in the crowd and sponsors on the canvas, and they're like, how hard can that be? If Eric did it, look at Eric. He's a not too old Hispanic guy, and he's living. I can do it too.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work, and I worked hard, and I've had a lot of sleepless nights. But
exactly, that
at the end of
stress.
the day, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun, it's exciting. You can. There's something to be said for having the 9 to 5, and you have the nights and weekends off and your little 2-week vacation and shit. We don't get those.
There is no 9 to 5. There's a 24 365.
Yeah.
It never stops ever.
Man, and I've been like, this is our 10-year anniversary of SHEATH as like a legit kind of company. I had the idea 5 years before that, and there was I had to get out of the Army. I had done a release that completely failed in 2010, and then like had to restructure and restart over everything from 2010 to 2013. And then we did a Kickstarter in 2013. You know what that is? Kickstarter?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a crowdfunding for everybody that doesn't know. Like, we just put the idea out there, and a few hundred people backed us, and then we took that pool of money, bought it anyway, and then gave them all the product, and we got to keep the rest, and we sold it. And we've just keep re-upping. It's kind of like the dope game, a little bit, but
like a little profit, re-put it, make more.
Yeah. You buy like the big quantity and then sell the little dimes and nicks.
Yeah.
But anyways,
it's legal out there.
Yeah, it's too strong. I smoked some a couple weeks ago. I went to California, and I'm in Colorado where it's legal too, but I've been toning it down a bit as far as like the blazing it up. But I was like, I'm in Cali, I'm at the beach, I'm gonna buy some weed. And I was like, it's kind of funny. So I went to the little weed shop, and I had rented I rented a car. I was just getting like a little Kia. Again, I'm not trying to get crazy, but for whatever reason, there was a Mustang drop top in the little section that I was eligible for. So I got the Mustang anyway. So I'm driving it around top down, just fucking flooring it every stop sign, just because it's a rental, and get the weed. I'm on my way back to the hotel, and it's like right on the beach in La Jolla. Very nice. The shores, shout out. So nice. And I'm like, all right, I'm like 2 minutes away. I'm gonna light it up here and take it. Like 2 hits. I was just gonna take 2 hits, and I did. But then I couldn't put it out, so I'm like holding it, and I'm holding it down on the below, so no one could see me. And I come to a stop sign right next to the hotel. California roll, didn't quite stop. Pull to the left, and then of course there's like a cop car right there, and so I'm like holding this joint as I'm driving past this cop car, and I'm like, anyways, he didn't pull up behind me, thank God. He just let it ride, and so I didn't do that again because I'm too fucking old to be doing that kind of shit, and it would have ruined my vacation. But then I was like, man, this shit is so strong. Like this, how is this legal? Because I was so high. It's crazy.
You do edibles or just smoke?
Little of this, both, but like typically just smoke, and I typically just like the leaf, and not like people are doing dabs and pins.
Yeah, all that shit. You smoke the real shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit is so strong that it's absurd. Because it had been like a few weeks since I had smoked, and I was like, anyways, wild. That shit's crazy. And we're trying to run these companies, and you can't, Wiz Khalifa, the more he smokes, the more money his business makes. But
right,
it's like I gotta keep everything coordinated, and it's kind of hard to do that when you're like high.
When you're high.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. You drink at all?
Yeah.
What do you like? You drink whiskey?
Just mostly beer, and I'll have some whiskey. Have
you had Hallerhead?
They don't have it at my local. I live in the very remote. Well, whatever. It's Woodland Park, and we went because the first time I saw it on like the UFC and stuff, I was like, it's got the banana flavor, and I went to go buy it, and they didn't have it. But
every Specs, or like, I don't know if you have Specs in your area, or Total Wine. Specs and Total Wine should carry those. Yeah. I don't know about any like smaller or locals, but I know that Specs and Total Wine for sure. But so Hallerhead sponsors us, so they'll send us like, I don't know, 24 bottles like every 3 months or something. So that's mostly what I drink. But like a couple weeks ago, I tried to they send like a little recipe book, and it's got all these different like Hallerhead fried chicken, Hallerhead banana bread, different stuff. So I made some Hallerhead banana bread. Dude, it was actually pretty good. But what I'm getting at, like you were saying, like you can't smoke and still function and run a business on a regular basis. We do a podcast that is sponsored by Hallerhead. Nice. And during the podcast, we drink Hallerhead. So like sometimes I dread those days because I'm like, man, this is going to ruin my whole day. Like, got contracts and work to do. I can't leave the studio like this. But.
No. Yeah. And we've been, I'm like a Joe Rogan dude or whatever, bro. And so I started doing the Sober October thing a few years ago. And every year I get a little bit closer to the end of the month, because I wouldn't quite make it, and this year we made it. We went to Vegas, and like everybody was smoking and drinking, including my team, because we sponsored this event called Skank Fest, which is a bunch of comedians, like dirty comedians, like that, not whatever, like they're edgy.
Y'all went in October?
Yes. So I didn't smoke or drink, which was like. This year it's in September, so this year I'll party a little bit. But I didn't do it. I stuck to my guns or whatever, and I'm actually doing like dry January. And
what about What about No Shave November?
We work with those people. The Movember, it's like a men's mental health awareness organization, and we work with them. I always have I always do
Facial
the
hair.
thing. Yeah. But ever since I grew it out, I was like, okay, I look weird without it now.
That's how I feel. Like once you
Yeah.
have it and you've had it for so long, like even just trimming it down short is like, man, this
Yeah.
looks funny.
It looks weird. So
Yeah.
I try to keep it. I don't shave it. I did one time. I don't remember why, but it was like, whoa, you fucking, who are you? What, well, I mean, like, what big events are coming up and stuff for Fury?
Man, so we kicked off the year. We just finished our Fury Challenger series on January 15th, and that is an idea that we went and sat down with the UFC Fight Pass team last year, because we had started signing so many guys to our roster, and they only allocate us like a certain amount of events per year that we're supposed to be able to do on Fight Pass. But because our roster is so big, we needed more events. So what we did is we pitched this idea for Fury Challenger series, which is almost like a Dana White Contender series.
Nice.
But it's for guys that have 5 wins or less. And
that sounds fun.
they'll be able to headline that card. But the idea was for UFC Fight Pass social media pages to pick it up and stream it through their Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that. So they love the idea. They got millions of followers on there. But it gives us a way to do more events associated with UFC Fight Pass. So we just kicked that one off, and we had our second one on January 15th. Obviously, we're coming into San Antonio this coming weekend, January 29th. That's a huge card. It's got some good flyweight matchups. I expect the main event and co-main event winners to get a look. They're either should get called up or one fight away.
Yes.
Then we come back to Houston the week after on February 5th. And that should be a good one as well. We've got a bantamweight showdown title fight. Then we go to Dallas on February 7th. Yeah, so, and then we have that doubleheader weekend. We are going to California again on March 17th.
Where?
And we're back in Visalia. It's like close to Fresno, about 20 minutes from Fresno.
Okay.
They got a really cool venue out there that works really well for MMA fights, and that's where 559 fights go.
Yeah.
So we actually go out there. I know you know Jeremy, I think. We actually go out there and we work with them and kind of co-promote the event with 559 fights.
Yeah.
And he builds the undercard and does the amateur fights, and we put the pro side of the card on UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah, we like working with them, and I love the ring. Like, you guys put the ring girls out there, and they do the ring girls, and that's like a really cool way to promote our underwear. And
our ring girls love SHEATH. Like,
they were so nice. I mean, I met them, and she was like, just briefly, I think we took a picture, and she was like, something about you're part of the reason we get a paycheck and stuff. So I was like, hell yeah, respect.
Yeah. They love that stuff too, man, and they like wearing it. Audra, I think they mentioned that y'all like Audra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she'll be in San Antonio this weekend.
Okay, we're actually coming out with a new women's line also, which I'll be happy to send to them, because that is just, you can't really beat having the ring girls walking around in your underwear. It's like, and then they took a picture with Dana White and shit, and then we definitely were like, we'll take that and put that on our social. What do you think about someone who's like like 10 years ago or whatever, trying to start their own fighting organization? What would you tell them?
Be patient. And you gotta be patient, man. And you'd be surprised. Well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but like, they're popping up all over the place now.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. I think just in the last probably 6 months, we've probably seen at least 10 new ones in Texas alone.
Whoa.
I didn't know that. Even over the years, I've seen them come and go. Like, they'll come in, they'll do 3, 4, 5 shows, and they think they're really making it. They're doing something, and then you just don't hear from them no more.
Yeah.
It's really all about the image. A lot of guys will put out this image that they're doing really well, but then time will show if they're really doing well or not. Like if you
Mhm.
can weather that 2-3 year storm. No, I don't think that any business is stable until after you hit like that 3 or 4 year mark. If
Yeah.
you can make it through those first few years, take a few losses and restructure and then come back and do things different and start making money, then you're okay. But if you're going to base your whole business on the first year and you can't get past the first couple years, you know, it's not for you. But anybody coming into this, I would say be patient. It's not easy. You got to have a lot of patience. Your brain's going to constantly be working, and you need to surround yourself by good people.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are like other business owners, and we're all pretty supportive of each other in terms of, you know, like staying positive, and you know, we can talk to each other about maybe problems we're having, but also the successes. And you don't want people that are like kind of like hating on you or whatever, especially in the beginning. And you can't really get away from that. Probably. Did your like family or friends tell you that this was a bad idea, or were they all pretty supportive?
I had a lot of support. You know,
Okay.
I think that they knew my character and they knew how ambitious I was. And
Nice.
if I put my mind to it and I said I was going to make something happen, that I would do it.
Nice.
So they got behind me, and they
Okay.
knew that I wasn't going to be it wasn't going to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think any good business that strives today is an overnight success. Like it takes time.
Yeah.
And as long as they knew, as long as I stuck with it, that something good was going to come out of it.
I like that's pretty sweet. I think that's actually kind of rare, although I'm not 100%, you know, I don't know everybody, but
Yeah.
a lot of people were telling me like, what are you doing? Kind of, or at least like really questioning, are you sure this is a good idea?
Right.
Because, but in my mind, I was so positive that it was going to work that I was like, it's not even a question.
Yeah.
So,
and at the end of the day, that's what matters. You know, that's
yeah,
what matters most.
because you
It's your
can make
money,
it,
it's your time.
and you
So,
can make it work if, I mean, for the most part, if you just do whatever it takes to make it work, I guess, and a little bit of luck, I guess. But, you know, you brought up other organizations that have come and gone, and I've seen other underwear companies over the 10 years that have come and gone, and it's not easy. You got to have that like stamina and keep grinding every fucking day. But we worked with Jorge Masvidal, and he came out with his fight organization, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist anymore, but you tell me.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I know he was on UFC Fight Pass. I haven't seen anything recent.
Okay.
So I don't really know if he has anything planned, but it's been a few months since he's had a show though.
Okay. Yeah, we worked with him, and it was cool. And he called me, you know, he was like, thank you, and this and that. And I guess so I got to talk to Jorge, and that was pretty sweet. But they were kind of like overvaluing the ROI or whatever. And I'm like dollar for dollar. I need to be getting some ROI, something. Give me something back. And just putting me on the mat only, it just wasn't for the price they were charging. I was like, there's like 30 other people on this mat.
Right. I think that like for sponsors, just being on the mat is not going to get them a lot of attention, because a lot of people are going to be like, what is that? And it's going to be, are they going to take the time to Google it?
Right.
You know, so if they got to see more visual, and I think the ring announcer.
I love the ring announcer. Yeah, I love
the
way
live attendance. But I think that the videos as well. Like we put out videos that have constant sheath and logos or whatever sponsor it is. Like that's big and that's super important.
I really appreciate that. You have no idea when we get those reels where it's like a tap out or a knockout and the sheath banners in the background or whatever. Love that. And then the announcer, this fight is brought to you by Sheath Underwear and all that. I love that guy. The big dude.
He knows exactly how to plug it the right way.
Yeah. You guys have a great thing going. Obviously, we're very proud to be an affiliation and working with you guys. So I appreciate you like fitting us in there and
For sure,
taking care
man.
of us.
No doubt.
And I appreciate you coming on the show today. I know you're super busy. Like you can't, like you said, it never stops. So.
Never stops, man. I went to San Antonio Monday there and back, and we did our podcast yesterday, and then I've got 3 kids, that require time.
Of course.
Working, driver's ed. I'm doing contracts for this weekend's event. I got to pack because we got to leave tomorrow night to San Antonio. It's a lot of stuff.
You got to have some like work-life balance, like some balance, try to anyways. And that's why I'm doing jiu-jitsu. I take a ceramics class with my wife. It's pottery and it's fun. It's like those like little moments of the week where actually I don't have my phone off during ceramics class, but definitely during jiu-jitsu.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is that one of those times that you can put it aside and be like, all right, I'm not going to worry about this right now?
It's in a bad time of the week. It's like right in the middle of the day, and I'm always stepping out to talk to an attorney or somebody. But we know. I'll see you on Sunday probably. Come by and say hi. Okay.
100%. We'll make sure y'all got the greatest seats, and you'll be right in my view to where I can walk back and forth and
just come
say hello,
say hi. We're gonna be doing like a behind the scenes video with my team and for our YouTube and everything. So we'll be
Raul Rosas Jr. I don't know if you saw him make his debut. He's the youngest UFC fighter.
Yes. Yeah. I love him.
They call him Baby. So his brother is fighting on our card Sunday.
Fun.
And his brother, and Kevin Rosas is his name. Kevin says Raul's coming. He's going to be there. So I'll see if I can get him over there to get a picture with y'all and stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys we always feel special, and I love that. So I appreciate it.
You got it, man.
All right. Well, you have a great evening. Thank you for coming on.
Got it. Yeah.
Eric Garcia, Fury FC. Coming to a town near you. Go check it out. Check it on UFC Fight Pass, and follow their Instagram and stuff because it's good shit.
Thank you, brother.
All right,
man. Take care.
Later.
Bye-bye.